You know those moments where you connect with a person without saying anything, and you don't even necessarily ever confirm after the fact that you two are on the same page, but you just know, and you kind of regard it for the rest of your life. You know, I'm talking like times where it's a stranger, someone you aren't gonna talk to again, but it makes an impression. You know, it's like it's a snapshot in your mind. Just those strangers that never leave you. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I got many examples, but some are funny. Like even if they deal with kind of shitty situations. Like I think of one where I was working with this girl who was working in the sex industry. I mean, me saying that is just a euphemism for saying that I was pimping her out. I don't like to say that, so it's just gross, but anyways, there was some older man, married guy. It's like a Jesus freak. He used to come over a lot, and he developed like a savior complex for one of the girls. He was gonna rescue her, despite the fact that he was like a coke addict himself and clearly off his rocker. But you know, it's not actually that uncommon. It wouldn't have been the first time I dealt with something like this, but so he was over once, and he tried to develop this like maternal kind of creepy father-daughter relationship. I mean, the guy was over 50, the girl was like 21 at the time. And he goes to the bathroom and he comes out and he's got tears in his eyes and he's holding something, and it's like, what the fuck? What's going on, man? And I guess he's like trying to talk, but he's like blubbering and he like doesn't know what to say. And then he holds it up, and it's a butter knife, right? That was in the bathroom. And he's like, I can't believe you would do this to yourself. Oh my god, please stop. For me, please. And I look at the girl, and we're just dying trying to hold in the laughter. Because what he thought was that it meant that she was like self-harming in the bathroom, like she was cutting herself. But what the knife is really for is when you're on heroin, you get really constipated, so you take these massive rock hard shits that plug the toilet. So the knife is just there to cut up poop. It's kind of known in like junkie circles, but he clearly didn't know. He was a cokehead. He wasn't into heroin. It's just so funny. He's like waving this poop knife at us, like crying about the poop knife. Oh my god. But you know, like, there's also really sad memories. And some kind of neutral but poignant memories. One that's kind of in the middle. When I was at rehab, I went to this. I was very fortunate. This was not the first time, probably wasn't the 10th time I'd been to a recovery center, but this was the best one by far. It was private. It's one of the best facilities in Canada. There was quite a paywall. So based on the exorbitant price, it was like prohibitively expensive for anyone who was kind of an actual junkie. I mean, that sounds kind of judgmental to say, but it was just the truth. They were all like country club alcoholics. A lot of them were veterans that had PTSD because the Veterans Affairs pays for them to get treatment. So mostly alcoholics. But there was one other guy there who had done opiates and like significant drugs and had spent like time on the street. Like he knew what was up, and he was from Toronto. And I'm not exactly sure how he was being bankrolled, but he had some backer. He's one of the few people that I kind of got on with. But so when we were there, we were watching a movie, The Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, I don't know why these people let us watch a movie like that. You know, it's just all about drugs. But They give you a lot of freedom. Like, we had our cell phones there. They give you a lot of autonomy. It's kind of a more independent, like, self-responsibility model. It has nothing to do with NA. And in my estimation, that's why it was successful for me, at least a strong factor. But I digress. So we're watching the movie, and we get to the scene where Jordan Belfort's like in the car, and the expired ludes hit him, and he's like not able to get back into the car and all that. And then he gets home, and his friend the Jonah Hill character, is choking on ham, and he's too fucked up on the ludes to get to him, so he has to take a line of coke to counter the ludes, and then he goes and performs CPR or whatever. And I didn't want to seem like a pussy or any more of a weirdo than I already was. And I was kind of in one of those compromised situations where you're like sitting between people, like you can't not disrupt them if you got up. And I was having a massive panic attack watching this movie, and I know it's a funny film. I mean, this is just my own issues, because what he was going through, like, to me, it wasn't funny. I understand the humor of it, but I was witnessing something else than what everyone else was seeing, right? I was seeing situations of people like dying on these tastings. Myself, like struggling to get help. The various times I've almost died. It just wasn't a scene that resonated with me in the same way that it clearly did with all these other people, because they didn't have those experiences. It was humorous to them, and there's no judgment at all for that. I'm just explaining how I differed. But anyways, that other guy who had done opiates was in like the back of this room, and he got up to leave. And when he did, I got up at the same time, and I left, and I went out, and I had a cigarette, and he wasn't like right there. He had gone like around like the building or something. I didn't know where he went, like, because he preceded me by, I guess, 30 seconds or whatever. But then he came around and he saw me, and he just gave the nod, and he's like, "You too?" And it's like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're able. I don't know how the fuck they're able to watch that. And he's like, they just haven't been there, man. And that was all we said, and like we never talked about it again. But I understood that he had gone through the same experience. That one, it's still kind of funny. I mean, it's a little silly, but like if someone made fun of me for that, I would be like, "Oh, you motherfucker! How dare you!" I don't give a fuck. But there is one that I thought of that was quite sad, where I realized this might be kind of selfish, but and maybe a little self-absorbed, but this moment really spoke to me how being very socially aware and having a high emotional IQ, it's really hard to live with. It's really depressing to know what's going on, and like the meta speak, the undertones, the things that other people just don't pick up on. This was when I was in a center that was government funded. It was a horrible place. They were in constant violation of like medical malpractice. They were very abusive. A woman died there while I was there, and they listed it as a suicide, but she was not ambulatory. She was not able to speak. And she apparently hung herself, and I really don't believe that she did. I believe they did something like fucked up her meds and covered it up. And there are people I've been in contact with from that place that believe the same thing, and they've tried to do something to no avail. I could go on about this place for decades. It's kind of a whole side story. I've written extensively about it, but I guess it just opens too many Pandora's box. Too many Pandora's. It opens a Pandora's box that's too extensive to go into it. But I'll just say it was a very abusive facility, and it was especially hard on this woman that was there with me. She was clearly from the streets and had a hard life. You could tell by the way she looked. She was a grandmother, but she was maybe 45, so she had kids quite young. She looked about 80. She was in a wheelchair. She was severely malnourished and atrophied. She could not walk. She was in diapers, and one of the ways that the staff punished us or tried to keep us in line at this facility was they made you shit in front of a guard with an open window, and they would punish the significantly physically disabled people by, like in her case, they would take away toilet paper and diapers and take away her wheelchair and make her crawl back on her hands and feet, like justifying it as trying to increase her independence, but it clearly wasn't. It wasn't in the spirit of what they were saying, because she was degrading from like serious illnesses that, in my estimation, were not going to be cured by that type of physiotherapy, and it wasn't physiotherapy; it was abuse. Right? But in a group once, like after she'd been treated like hell, and she had been certified under the Mental Health Act, so she couldn't leave. And the program is quite long. It's a diverted program for people that get kind of minor criminal offenses, that they go here and you go under like a mental health program, and then you don't get a criminal sentence. Most people were there for that. I was not. So that's another issue. Anyways, she had clearly she clearly hit a wall. Like she had given up. She was very depressed, and these counselors and these people, they were all so out of touch. They had no idea what was going on. Like the people that came in that didn't work at the facility, they didn't know that there was like horrible abuses going on, and if they did, they couldn't do anything about it. But they would come in, and you'd do your daily group and whatever, and it was like a check-in, very formulaic, what you've seen on TV or what you've experienced yourself if you've been involved in addictions, mental health groups, that kind of thing. And so she was saying this. She was going off, and she didn't want to talk, but so they asked some question, like forcing her to talk. Like, so what epiphanies did you come to today? What did you learn about yourself today? Something like that. And she said, "Well, I realized that when I get out of here, I'm not going to carry." She said, "I'm not going to carry a weapon on me anymore. I'm not going to carry a knife on me anymore." And the staff lauded her. They were like, "Oh, that's great. That's wonderful." Nobody else in the group was really paying attention or knew what was going on. But she looked at me right in the eye. Like, she was a really ornery, mean bitch, but she still had a respect for me, and I kind of had a respect for her, and we would kind of banter a bit about how bad it was here and all that. But she looked at me right in the eye. I knew what she meant was, I'm ready to die, and I'm not going to try to protect myself anymore. And no one else understood that. And it was just so heartbreaking to see that. If I had to guess, I would say she's probably dead by now. This was about 6 years ago. She didn't look like she had 6 years, even with a miracle. But it's just one of those moments that, like, I'll always see her face. I'll always, like, there's not really much else to say about it. I don't really have anything profound to say about it. It's just very sad. And I guess that's kind of the way it goes with being involved in heavy-duty life. You get a lot of stories, and some of them are funny, some of them are neutral, some of them are very sad. And I think you have to tell all of them. been having a very hard time telling these stories. But I'm going to start to try, because they're very important to my life and to the legacies of all the people that didn't make it, which is pretty much everyone I've known in the last decade. I'm going to commit to posting this. Some of it is just selfish that I need to challenge myself because I'm terribly insecure about being on camera, showing myself. Spent, a good decade of my life trying to hide from everybody. Not show anything. Be a good criminal. Be a good liar. Avoid judgments. Appear the way I need to appear for doctors to get medical scripts or to get a pass or whatever else. I just like to come clean. And I don't want to talk to a bunch of strangers in a room about how much we don't do something that we used to do, like you do in AA or NA. I'd rather tell these stories in a more personal way. And of course, if it's at all interesting or successful, I hope that I garner an audience, which I guess would foster some sort of parasocial relationship with an audience that I don't know, but hopefully I'm able to bypass that by being vulnerable enough and emotionally evocative enough and real enough. I was always really afraid of getting cancelled. Not because I cared what people thought, I didn't want to squander an opportunity by, ruining my career before it started. But as far as I can see, the people who've made it, who've had pasts that are worth being cancelled, have done so by being radically honest to the point where they take away the power from the cancelers. And that's kind of how I try to live my life with the few people I allow into it these days. So I think I'm going to start extending that outward. And hopefully it doesn't appear too much like I'm trying to utilize my issues, my past, my traumas as an accessory, because I see that a lot. People, they wear their mental health and their victimization as an accessory. There's nothing cool or fun or nice or interesting about it. It's just sometimes sad, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's neutral.